You are 13. Your mother hands you a pale pink ribbon, not for your hair, but to tie around your neck. She says it will help you look delicate. Then she whispers the address. You walk alone through the soot-stained streets of London, past chimney smoke, rat-bitten alleyways, and staring men. The house is large, lit from within. Curtains drawn. You are about to enter a place where girls are renamed, reshaped, and never fully returned. A brothel, dressed like a parlor, run like a prison, and masked in velvet. What happens to innocence when it becomes currency? And what secrets hide behind the lace and laughter of Victorian pleasure? It begins with fog, thick, gray, and low, curling through the alleys of East London like smoke from a dying fire. You are just a girl, maybe 12, or younger. You've never celebrated your birthday. You only know time through winters and wounds thought your mother works in a factory. Your father drinks the wages. There's never enough bread, never enough coal, and never enough silence between the shouts. So when the woman in feathers offers you a job, a proper one, warm and paid, it feels like hope. She smiles. With red lips, her gloves are silk. She calls you darling, pretty, clever, and she says the house needs maids, or seamstresses, or companions for gentlemen. You nod. You follow. Because what choice do you have? Hope is a luxury. But illusion? Illusion is free. The house is larger than you imagined. Candlelit windows. Velvet curtains. A perfume that clings to your hair like sugar and rot. You are led inside. Quietly. Quickly. The halls echo with footsteps and music and something else. Laughter that sounds hollow. Like it was practiced. Like it was bought. The woman who brought you disappears. Another appears. Stern. Pale. Eyes sharp as needles. She looks you over like you're meat. Smile, she says. Don't worry, love. We'll take care of you now. And the door behind you locks with a soft click. You are no longer outside. You are inside the system. And systems do not open themselves once they close. That night, you are given a bath. Scrub it until your skin burns. Hair curled, nails trimmed, cheeks pinched. You are dressed in lace. Not black for work, but white, like a bride. A costume of innocence meant to tease the men who will pay to take it. They do not touch you that first night. Not yet thought first, they train your posture, your smile, the way you lower your eyes. They call it polishing. The room where you sleep has no window, just a mirror. You don't know if it's day or night anymore. And slowly, you realize you weren't hired, you were acquired. They tell you your new name before you finish your breakfast. You are no longer Lena, or Elsie, or Margaret. You are now Rose, or Lily, or Velvet. Names chosen not for truth, but for taste. Names that sound soft, fragrant, edible. They are spoken in low tones by the madam and repeated by clients like a spell. You try to protest. That's not me. But the other girls just smile, tired. Don't fight it, one says. They forget us faster if we don't. Later, your old clothes are taken, burned, they say, to keep away lice. But it feels like something holier, like a cleansing. A ritual to wash away your past, and in its place, corsets, ribbons, perfume, and silence. You stare at yourself in the mirror again. You're dressed, like someone who knows what she's doing. But inside, you're just a scared girl, now dressed as a woman no one ever asked you to become. No one hands you a rule book, but the rules are everywhere. You learn them by watching, listening, noticing which girls get punished, which ones disappear. Rule number 1, forget your name. Rule number 2, smile when they look at you. Rule number 3, never cry where they can see it. There are other rules too. Darker ones. Don't bleed on the sheets. Don't age. Don't ask where the bruises came from. The punishments are subtle. A missed dinner, A slap you're not allowed to react to. A new girl suddenly wearing your necklace. Even laughter is a tool here. You learn how to fake it, not joyfully, but obediently. You start hearing your new name more than your real one. And then, one morning, someone calls Rose, and you turn your head without thinking. That's when you realize you're not forgetting. You're being erased. Clients arrive every evening, some polite, some drunk, some with requests too strange to name. You're taught to flatter them, make them feel powerful, special, desired. You learn how to pour tea slowly, how to undress without seeming rushed, how to laugh at things that make your skin crawl. Charm becomes survival, and the more charming you are, the more they believe you're there by choice, because if you look happy, they don't have to feel guilty. One man, older with gold rings, says, "You must love it here, Rose. You're always smiling." You nod, because what else can you do? He kisses your hand like you're royalty, like he's doing you a favor. You go cold. That night, you press your ear to the mirror, whisper your old name into the glass. Just once, but the reflection doesn't answer. Only the room does, with silence. He arrives in silence. No grand carriage, no music, just a black leather case and gloves that don't come off, even indoors. They call him the doctor, but no one asks where he studied. No one dares. He doesn't want touch. He wants permission to watch, to examine. You're told to lie still, like you're being painted. He touches your spine like it's a puzzle, comments on your ribs, measures your thighs, not with cruelty, but curiosity, like your meat, like you're a specimen. Later, you see the coins he left behind, more than a month's rent, all for not touching you. But somehow, that felt worse, because it wasn't about lust. It was about power, the pleasure of control without consent. And that is rule number 7. Pain is a product, but only the rich get to enjoy it guilt-free. Not all the guests are men, and not all are grown. You remember one, no older than 10, son of a duke. He was brought in as a reward for good grades, or maybe just curiosity. You were chosen because you were young too, less threatening. They said, he asked strange questions, wanted to dress you up like a doll, put pins in your hair, count your toes. He giggled when you flinched. When he left, you sat in the corner of the room, knees to your chest. You didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because no one would have noticed if you had. You learned that night that innocence isn't something you lose. It's something they take. Some clients wanted bruises, not fake ones, real ones. They asked for things whispered in corners, biting, ropes, belts. Some wanted begging, some wanted silence. The madam never said no. She just adjusted the price. If you protested, you were difficult. If you refused, you were ungrateful. If you broke down, you were replaced. And the men? They left whistling, laughing, sometimes even weeping with relief, because they claimed you healed them. You learned how to scream without making noise, how to breathe without sobbing, how to lie without blinking. But every time the door closed, a piece of you stayed behind. Until one day, you looked at your reflection and didn't recognize who stood there, because this wasn't work. This was ritualized violence, wrapped in velvet, sold with a smile, and you were not the healer. You were the sacrifice. Asterisk. You woke to silence. No footsteps, no music, just a faint creak of the hallway, and the door to room 3 left ajar. She hadn't come to breakfast. Her tea tray remained untouched. You already knew before anyone spoke. It was Annie, 17, quick to laugh, slow to cry. She used to braid your hair in the mornings, humming nursery songs she couldn't remember the lyrics to. They said she had the fever, but you saw the bottle and the scarf around her neck. 2 maids came in with a card. Didn't cover her face. Just wrapped her up like dirty laundry. And by nightfall, the bed was made. Fresh linens. Candles lit. New girl unpacking a bag. No one mentioned Annie again. Not out of cruelty, but because grief wasn't allowed. Grief made you less charming. And in this house, charm was survival. Death was not rare here. It came in many forms: fever, blood loss, despair. Sometimes clients. Sometimes themselves. You learned to spot it before it arrived. The hollow stare. The shaking hands. The girls who gave away their combs and ribbons. Like parting gifts. You once asked the madam why no priest was ever called. She said, "This isn't a church." You once asked why their names weren't marked. She said, "They weren't real names anyway." You once asked what happens after. She didn't answer, but you knew. The body went out the back. The silence stayed. The room filled again, like a stage that never stops performing, no matter who collapses behind the curtain. The next day, you smiled at a client. You didn't want to. But it's what you were taught. You poured the wine, sat on his lap, laughed when he called you Rose, though you barely remembered choosing that name. And as you smiled, you noticed. The mirror. There was something strange about your reflection. Not just tired. Not just hollow, but empty, like the smile had become part of your skin. Something you wore, not something you felt. You thought of Annie, of the scarf, of the quiet card. And you realized rule number 13 wasn't written in words. It was written in absence. No crying. No pause. No farewell. Just this. Smile. And carry on. Because in this house, even the dead must be forgotten quietly. That wasn't her real name, of course. No one used those here anymore. But they called her Porcelain, for her pale skin, her stillness, her silence. She never laughed, never danced, never cried. But her eyes, they were always watching. She kept a folded map beneath her mattress. A chipped pocket mirror she refused to trade. A hairpin she never let go of. At night, she would whisper questions no one else dared speak. What's beyond the river? Do you think they'll remember? Me? Why do they teach us to smile instead of scream? Most thought she'd break, but she was planning. It was winter. A rare snowfall cloaked the streets in silence. You were brushing out your hair when you noticed her bed. Empty. Unmade. Cold. No client had been booked. No bath drawn. No warning. The madam's voice echoed down the halls. Has anyone seen Porcelain? But no one answered. Not because we didn't know, but because we hoped. The window in the laundry room had been unlatched. Footprints in the snow led away from the garden wall and disappeared. Some girls whispered she made it to the docks, that a sailor took pity, that she boarded a ship with her hairpin still in her hand. Others said they found her, that the madam buried it quietly, that the snow covered more than just footprints. No one knew for sure, because Porcelain never came back, and her name was never spoken again. Years passed. New girls arrived. The house changed wallpaper, perfume, routines, but Porcelain remained. In silence, in legend. In the drawer where her mirror was never claimed, she became a symbol, not of escape, but of possibility. When clients grew cruel, girls would whisper, "She got out. She made it. She's waiting for us." Maybe it was a lie, but it was a necessary one. Because in a place designed to erase you, even vanishing could feel like victory. Porcelain became the myth we needed. The doll that didn't break. The girl who chose not to smile. She may have been caught. She may have survived. But either way, she refused to belong. And that, in this place, was the greatest rebellion of all. You could see it in their eyes. The older girls. The ones who'd been there longest. Their laughter too perfect. Their advice too polished. Keep your head down. Don't get attached. Pretty fades. Learn to listen instead. They weren't cruel. They weren't kind either. They were efficient. They had learned the rules so well, they became part of the structure. Living proof that resistance is dangerous and that adaptation is rewarded. But behind the rouge and ribbons, you sometimes saw a flicker, a hesitation before they turned away, a tremble in the hands as they tied a younger girl's corset too tight. The system didn't just hurt them, it recruited them. One girl, Celeste, had been there nearly a decade. She ran the tea trays, taught the new girls how to smile without showing teeth, knew which clients bit and which ones cried. The madam trusted her. Some whispered she was next in line to run. The house. Others said she already did. She was the one who renamed you, told you what to wear. She looked you in the eye and said, "Don't dream, just survive." You hated her for that. Until one night, you found her weeping in the linen room, holding a ribbon that clearly wasn't hers. She never spoke of it, but you knew she had once been someone else too. Not all prisons have bars. Some have chandeliers. Not all wounds bleed. Some just whisper. The girls who stayed became part of the decor, moving portraits of warning and wisdom. Their stories folded into their routines. Their pasts scrubbed clean, like wine from the floor. But every so often, one would say a name they weren't supposed to remember. Name not on the books. Porcelain. Annie. Lena. And in that moment, just for a heartbeat, the house cracked. Because those who stayed didn't forget. They just learned how to bury memory beneath powder, posture, and rule number 13. Years later, you walk past that street. There's no plaque, no memory, just a row of identical flats with flower pots and buzzing doorbells. The brothel is gone, demolished quietly. No newspaper notice, no outrage. Only the foundation remains. Underground, beneath tiles and time. But when you stand still, you swear you can feel it. The echo of heels, the murmur of rules, the breath of girls who once smiled for survival. History didn't erase it. It just covered it. You hear it in headlines, in jokes, in courtroom questions. What was she wearing? Why didn't she leave? Was it really that bad? The brothel is gone, but the system? It shapes. It lives in the way we glamorize courtesans. In the stories that frame suffering as seduction. In the language that praises obedience and punishes resistance. They called those girls fallen, as if gravity, not violence, pulled them down. They called them spoiled, as if they were food, not children. Worst of all, they called them willing. As if anyone chooses chains wrapped in satin. There's a mirror in your room now, a modern one, no corset, no candles. But sometimes you look into it and wonder, what did the system turn you into just so you could survive it? The house is gone, but the rules echo still. In office hallways, in college dorms, in film scripts and TikToks. Rule number 1, be pretty. Rule number 2, don't speak too much. Rule number 7, pain is still profitable. Rule number 13, grief is bad for business. The building is gone, but the training remains. So maybe the question isn't, did Porcelain escape? Maybe the real question is, when will we all stop performing for rooms that should have closed a long time ago? She used to line the perfume bottles on her windowsill and pretend they were students. Each one had a name, a story, a lesson to learn. She hummed softly when she cleaned them, gave them marks, corrected their mistakes. I'd open a little school, she said once, giggling, maybe near a bakery, so it always smells like bread. She died before her 18th birthday, but in another life, she stood at a chalkboard, not a bedpost. She sketched in soap on the foggy mirror, always drawing things that weren't there. Birds, rivers, stars, a door with no key. She didn't talk much, but she watched. Always watched. You imagine her now, covered in paint. Hands stained, laughing at her. Drawings on alleyways and school gates. Murals that say, "We are not what you took from us." You still don't know your real name. Or maybe you do, but it feels foreign now. What would you have done with your life? Fallen in love slowly, not like a transaction. Stood in a courtroom as a lawyer, not as evidence. Taught your daughter how to say no and mean it, but no one gave you that story, so you learned to survive in theirs. And maybe imagining that other life is painful, but it's also resistance, because to imagine freedom, even after they stole it, is a way of saying you didn't win. There were clients, yes, but there were also sponsors. Men who funded the house, men who drank tea with the madam, men who never touched the girls, but sold them with signatures. A judge came once, not to buy, but to protect the property. He said, "Keep it quiet, no scandals." He never asked why half the girls had bite marks. You remember the girl with honey brown curls. Her father dropped her off with a bag of clothes. Didn't stay. Didn't cry. Said she was too wild. Said she was better off with you. He signed no papers. Left no money. Just turned and walked away. Later, you learned he was a church elder. Spoke often of discipline and saving girls. We never saw him again, but his silence? It kept the doors open. The most dangerous men wore clean collars. Doctors who signed off on bruises as nervous episodes. Politicians who called brothels social necessities. Writers who romanticized it, made it fashionable. They didn't visit rooms. They wrote the rules that built them, and when it came time to punish someone, they chose the girls. Because systems like these don't run on lust, they run on permission. That word, courtesan, wrapped the girls in velvet. It made the pain palatable, made slavery sound like seduction, made bruises seem like pearls. But it was never about luxury. It was survival sold as style. The girls weren't lounging on cushions. They were choking on expectations. And courtesan was just a prettier name for trapped. That's the lie that stings the most. As if children choose to be sold. As if desperation is consent. As if smiling under threat means satisfaction. No girl chose the system. They just learned how to survive it. And to say otherwise is to side with the buyers, not the stolen. That's the lie history tells itself. To sleep at night. To keep museums clean. To avoid asking how much of this still exists. Because the rooms are gone, but the rules? They echo in boardrooms, in media, in laws that punish girls for how they dress, who they trusted, how loudly they said no. The brothel died, but the myths became culture. And until we tear those down too, Porcelain's story isn't over. The brothel is gone, the bricks are dust, the mirrors shattered, the names forgotten or buried. But the girls? They're still here. In perfume bottles you don't know why you kept. In lullabies missing a line. In the hollow silence when someone says, "Well, that's just how it was back then." We tell ourselves these stories are history. That we've moved on. That the world is better now. But the rules? They're still whispered. Just indifferent. Rooms. Be soft. Be quiet. Smile for the dead. And so, Porcelain lives on. Not in flesh, not even in memory, but in every girl taught to perform pain like it's poetry. In every woman told she's too emotional, too dramatic, too much. And in every silence we are asked to keep, just to survive. So now you've heard what they never wanted written down. A history of velvet chains and beautiful cages. Of girls turned into ghosts long before they died. But here's the truth. They weren't born to be broken. They weren't made to be myths. They were children. They were artists. They were teachers, dancers, rebels, writers. And if you're watching this now, Maybe you're carrying one of their stories in your blood, even if you've never stepped into a room like theirs, because the system didn't end. It just got better at dressing itself up. If this story moved you, don't let it vanish. Comment one name from this story. You'll remember. Annie, Porcelain, Celeste, yours. Share this with someone who believes the past is still shaping the present. Subscribe for more untold histories, not of kings, but of the silenced. And remember, some houses collapse, but the truth echoes. Let's be louder than the silence.